All right, so Marcus Chan here. So you are the founder of Venli Consulting, and I was reading up on your story, and it's really cool that you were in corporate America for 14 years. Providing so much value, getting promoted, winning a lot of awards, and then eventually you created your own business to really, you know, provide more of an impact. Now, kind of give us your origin story, how you got to that point.
Yeah, 100%. So, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. And, when I first, graduated college, I went right into B2B sales, and that was a ton of fun. I got into B2B sales, and it was hard for sure. It was hard, but fun at the same time. I mean, I struggled at first, eventually figured it out, started having success, and eventually started getting promoted multiple times, et cetera.
Mhm.
In about 2015, at that point, I had been in the B2B world for about eight or so plus years. And at that point, I just got promoted to be a regional director at a sales force of like 85 reps. We did, a couple hundred million in sales and have a lot of fun doing that too. And at that point, people kept asking me, they said, "Hey, Marcus, how did you get promoted so many times? How did you get promoted so many times in such a short amount of time?" And, and I said, well, I'd tell them. And then eventually people start saying, "Marcus, you have to write a book. Like, you have to write a book like you have to write a book. Like you have to explain your journey." So I was like, okay. So at that point, I started learning how to write a book, and I actually wrote an ebook at the time. It was an ebook because I didn't want to do a hard copy, and I started just selling it on the side. And I remember after I kind of just put it out there. I'm like, whatever. I'm just kind of doing this corporate thing. And I woke up and I made $9. Not a lot of money, but it was like an aha. I was like, wow, like you can make money by monetizing your knowledge. That was the first thing I realized. So from there, I was still selling them. That was really cool. But I knew that I couldn't leave my big corporate job because, when you earn a high income in a corporate job, it's really hard to leave. Plus, there's equity and stock options. So you are a little bit stuck. There's golden handcuffs, as they call it.
Mhm.
So I'm like, you know what? I can't really leave my job doing this. But, I love what I do. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And I started, when I still on the side, I was studying and learning about internet marketing and what I could do from there. And that's when I came across building an online course. In today's environment, everyone's got an online course, but at the time, it wasn't as common. So I started taking about 2 years, and I invested into a program to learn how to do it. And then I started building my first version. And it took about 2 years because at that time I was traveling like 100 nights a year. I was in a hotel room 100 nights a year. I was traveling nonstop, had a young baby. I was working 80 plus hours a week. It was nuts. So on my free time, I started building this online program. And it took me 2 years. In early 2019, I finally finished the first version, which was, basically teaching people how to sell business to business sales. And because I saw a major gap in the marketplace where there wasn't really a good B2B program. Like there
Mhm.
was a lot of B2C programs, or maybe someone who sold B2C try to make a B2B program, but nothing from someone who actually carried the bag and sold business to business, right, successfully, and taught people how to do it. So I'm like, I'm gonna make my own version. So I built that version, uh, launched it early 2009, just launched it to my email list, very small email list. I woke up, I made $2,000 overnight. And that was
Wait, so
like,
it was just your email list? No Udemy, no Teachable, none of those platforms really existed at the time, right? It was just you and your email list.
yeah, it was me and my email list,
Oh
but
wow.
I built it on my own WordPress site. So
Okay.
part of the program I bought, it taught me how to do that. And I think maybe Udemy was, I don't know. To me, it didn't really matter. Like, I actually don't, I think it was around because I remember the program I bought into, they're like, hey, you could put it on like Udemy or whatever, only if you want to charge like a low amount. Like, I want to charge at least $1,000 or more.
You say 12
So
bucks on average, like each course on Udemy.
correct. So there's pretty much like, that's kind of like the Walmart of courses, if you will.
Yeah.
And I knew if I wanted to charge a premium program, I could charge more. I had to put it on there. So I put it on my own site. So I
Yeah.
put it on my own site for $1,000. Woke up overnight, had 2 sales. Nothing crazy, but
Damn.
I made $2,000 overnight. And that was like, wow. My email list was like maybe a few hundred, and I'm like, that actually worked. And that was again similar to that $9 PayPal payment I initially received. That $2,000 in
Mhm.
Stripe hitting my account was like,
It's a
I
big
could do
jump.
something with this. I could scale this, or I could scale this. Okay. So I'm like, okay. So I started kind of planning my escape, if you will, from corporate America. I started planning it out. And there was a couple of things in place I had to put in place. Number one, because I had hit President's Club, which is the top elite award, where there's a free trip, 5-star resort, big awards ceremony, and all the stuff that comes with it. That was happening in August. I qualified for that, so I'll earn on my free trip. Okay, and then I also had a bunch of stock I was going to invest. That I was going to invest middle summer, and in order to cash it out, I want to make sure I had that. But also more importantly, I knew we had an earnings call in early September, and the earnings call was going to announce great results because I knew I worked for the company, so I knew the stock would go up. I could cash out a higher price point. So
Hmm.
I waited till I had my trip, got my stock, waited for the earnings call. The day after, I turned in my 2-week notice and started my job full time, or my business full time. And then it's been an ongoing journey since then, where it's been an amazing journey. Obviously, there's highs, there's lows, like anything else. But now I work directly with B2B sales professionals, helping them sell more across really the world now. So it's been an absolutely
Hmm.
amazing journey.
So yeah, you do B2B sales. Now, what vehicles do you use to drive sales? Of course, when you first started out, you use your email list for your course, right? But I
Mhm.
mean, there's other tools that you can use: Facebook ads, LinkedIn, cold calls, cold emails. Now, what vehicles do you use to drive B2B sales?
Yeah, absolutely, right. Because at the end of the day, it's as you know, there's a few different paths you can drive traffic. So now
Hmm.
it's a little bit different. So now I actually also I don't offer the course by itself anymore. Now it's a high level coaching program with that, right? So it's group coaching
Hmm.
with that program. I charge a lot more now, and people get crazy results now. But the way I drive traffic, a few different ways. I definitely have the organic path, which is of course, Facebook, Instagram organic, Facebook groups like the ones like I own, ones I'm a part of, LinkedIn organic as well. So just as a result, you're gonna have that. I also have VAs that do work for me for on LinkedIn doing direct outreach as well, which generates leads and traffic. I
Hmm.
also do, obviously content marketing, so putting out content which generates a lot of leads as well, just as a result of generating content. I also do Facebook and Instagram ads as well. So I do Facebook ads for that. Instagram ads. I boost posts. I also have a media buyer for YouTube ads. That's just started today, actually. So I have a lot of traffic sources as a result. And also on top of that, I typically do 2 to 3 podcast interviews a week, which drives a lot of traffic as well from an organic perspective too. So I have a few different ways to drive the top of the funnel to get leads into my funnel to help them.
Yeah, I think it's always a good way, a good strategy to diversify. Because if you use Facebook ads and that for some reason isn't converting, then you're kind of
Mhm.
putting all your eggs in one basket and then you're done, right? But
100%.
let's put it in this way. So if you're a digital marketer, maybe running advertisements for e-commerce brands or something alike, maybe you create content for personal brands because nowadays coaches and entrepreneurs are too busy to create their own content and they
Mhm.
need content creators to do it for them. So in that case, those people need to sell their services, and that's B2B. So do you recommend, of course, doing all that at once, YouTube ads, LinkedIn ads, podcast, doing all that at once can be very, very difficult or challenging. Not impossible, but challenging.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
is there one specific platform that you kind of recommend, or does it depend on what you're really working on?
Yeah. So I think you bring up such a great point. Even though I might drop, I don't know, maybe 10 different ways to generate traffic,
Hmm.
I didn't start this way. I didn't start like tomorrow I start my business and suddenly I'm doing all 10. Many of it started really 5 years ago, learning Instagram, learning Facebook, trying to figure out ads, doing LinkedIn. I did a lot of testing trying to figure it out.
Hmm.
So what I would recommend is if you are starting off new to be a digital marketer, whatever, choose one because they all work. So just so you know, they all work. Choose one, and I would say you could start with paid. The only downside if you start with paid traffic like Facebook or Instagram is typically once you turn off the paid traffic, your leads stop. That's this is like
Hmm.
the faucet is turned off, right? Unless you've done a good job with some retargeting to generate a back end following that can still turn into leads for you, which it gets more complex from that strategy. So I would ideally focus on organic first and choose one method. Let's just say, for example, like I know for me, I love LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I think, is a great source of traffic. And if you start there, because right now organic reach is very, very good, go all in on LinkedIn. And that could be on creating content, doing LinkedIn outreach, and doing all those things going to lead to more leads. But whatever it's going to be, go all in and do a really good job first before you start adding other things. Like, for example, I didn't start adding on paid traffic until I started getting more of a hang on the organic piece with LinkedIn. Once that was going really, really well, I started learning paid advertising, which has really helped me scale to the next level just because I didn't know how to do Facebook ads. And now I'm doing YouTube ads coming up very soon, but I had no idea how to do it. So I outsourced it. So I brought on a media buyer who's going to take care of that for me because I don't have time to go on the platform and just mess
Hmm.
around. Because I did burn a lot of cash on Facebook ads early on because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So
So
choose one and go all in. Yeah.
just because it's not working or it's not working for you doesn't mean that that tool necessarily isn't working at all. It's just because either you're not putting enough work or you're not good at it, or you have to be really patient when using these tools, because I think a lot of people, they can try one Facebook ad and they get no return on investment, and they'll just
Mm-hmm.
claim that, oh, this is just a scam, it's not working for me. But in reality, these tools, if you put in enough time and effort, you could get a direct return on investment, right?
100%. And I'll give you an example, right? So when I first started doing Facebook ads, this is before I got a mentor and coach for, for overall internet marketing. I had tried Facebook ads. I spent probably at least $5,000. I think I generated like maybe one lead. It was awful. And I was going out there and I was trying really hard. But the way I picture it is kind of like this. Let's just say, you're in, Connecticut. I'm out in Portland, Oregon. Let's just say if I was going to try to drive to you. Now, if I just got in my car and just started heading north, okay? And in Portland, Oregon, if I just head north, and no matter how hard I drive, I'll never get to where you are. I'll never get there, okay? Because I'm going the wrong direction. But if I had the right direction, or if I Google mapped it to where you are, now I can follow that road. I'm going to get there. Doesn't mean it'll be easy. It's still a long drive, but I'm going to get there faster, and I'll actually get there versus just driving head north. And I share
Hmm.
that with you, that analogy, because Facebook ads are the same way. When you're doing it the wrong way, it's just like you're trying to walk through into a wall. You're walking into it, you're hitting your head on the wall. That's what I was doing. What I didn't realize was there was little things I was doing wrong. I didn't have pixels set up right. I didn't have certain conversion events. My
Hmm.
copy wasn't very good. My image wasn't very good. It didn't align. I didn't have I had all these little things. They weren't big, but these little things all added up to really make an impact, and it really led to just a terrible ad. Really,
Hmm.
but in my head, I'm like, this is probably a good ad. No, it wasn't. I just didn't know any better. And then from there, what I also didn't realize as well was I figured, oh, you know what? I'm just heading to have one ad, it's nail out of the park, and I can just pump a bunch of money into it. It doesn't work that way. You really need to have many ads that are running at all times to multiple audiences to keep going. So you're always testing. And I didn't realize that. So there's stuff like that. Eventually I learned, but I didn't know that until someone had to tell me how to do that. And it started with me thinking there's something wrong on the platform. But then I got wise and realized, you know what? Actually, they all work. I just didn't know how to do it.
I think all these platforms are pretty new, with Facebook ads, LinkedIn, YouTube. And of course, there's a lot of nuances you have to learn, of course, how to have the right creative, the right, not category, but campaign for it. There's a lot of things you need to
Totally.
learn, right? But
Yep.
in sales, are there fundamental things that cannot be changed, that are fundamental, but they can still be applied in any platform or any vehicle or tool of that matter to
Mhm.
drive, B2B, sales?
100%. And this applies to whether it's advertising. I think this is like a marketing and kind of sales, like fundamental, right? But you have to get in front of the right audience. That's really important. Whether it's an ad, your copy, your post, your email, your cold call, whatever, you have to have the right audience. You have to have the right content. So content actually speaks to them. That's from your copy. Well, if it's a video, is it the language they're using or something of interest to them? Not interest to you, but interest to them. Do they understand where you're coming from? So does it match up? Does the content match up with that? Okay,
Hmm.
those two simple fundamentals are so vital for sales and marketing. Make sure you're the right people and make sure it aligns together. And when you have that, that leads to the highest chance of potential conversion. And obviously, you should have a call to action of some sort, right? That'll lead to the highest likelihood of a result. If it's a sales call, it's the same thing. If you have the wrong messaging, you're not going to get that appointment. Okay. If you have the wrong content, they're not going to care. And then on top of that, and that's more of the top of the funnel work. As you start progressing deeper into the middle of the funnel and actually running sales calls, are you actually focused on the customer or you? Most people, when they run a sales call, and this kind of ties to some marketing copy as well, is they're focused heavily on themselves and not them. The most important person is always going to be them. whether it's sales for sales copy, ads, or sales call. So focusing on them will always yield to a better result. So in a sales call perspective, if the sales professional is sitting down with a potential business and they spend most of their time just pitching, especially early on, chances are very slim they're actually going to get the deal. However, if
Mm-hmm.
you flip it around and spend most of the time focus on the customer, asking questions and covering their needs, wants, desires, heartburns, and hot buttons, and then aligning a solution to them, they're still focused on them. Now the chances of closing are significantly higher because they're focused on them. So there's probably some core fundamentals that do not change across the board, regardless of platform or medium that you're working to get a prospect.
So I think subconsciously, or when you create a website or on your social media, whatever it is, a lot of successful people can be like, or businesses, they're like, oh, we've been a company since 2004. We did this, this, and that. And I think in reality, as the potential customer, no one really cares about that. They only care about what they get out of it. So you think
100%.
that the company or the personal brand, the entrepreneur trying to sell something to another business or someone else, they have to just not give the features or what they're about, but just the true benefit that the person is going to receive from you. Try to take away all the individual characteristics or kind of take out the ego within you and just share what you can provide for your potential customer.
Yeah, for most part, right? And I'll say, to make it even simpler, at the end of the day, your potential customer, all they really care about is what's the end result of working with you
Mm-hmm.
for your product, service, or offer. All they want is an end result. Like, for example, if you are a marketing agency that does Facebook ads, they don't care how many campaigns you can run or how cool your creative is. All that business wants to know is, hey, if you run my ads, will you get me leads? Like, that's all they care about. Will you give me quality leads that we can close? That's all they care about. They don't care about, the creative, the number of ads and those things. That's not as relevant. Like if you sell, let's say, copiers, right? You sell copy machines. Nobody cares about the features. All they want to know is, hey, can this print out what we need? Whether it's sales proposals to get more business, or is it, menus for whatever, or is whatever it's going to be. All they care about what's desired end result. And
Mm-hmm.
if you can help them get there first, then they care about the middle later on. Because they might be like, okay, cool. How do you do that? How do you ensure you're the fastest internet speed so I don't have to worry about that? How do you, what product do you have that's going to minimize this issue in my plant? That's what people want to know later on. But you begin the end result. This is actually why, even on my website, when you scroll on my website, one of the first things they see is just a bunch of screenshots of example end results that people got. Like, oh, this person generated extra $50,000 here. Oh, this person made extra $100,000. Oh, this person hit this award. Oh, this person got promoted. Oh, this person feels more confident. Oh, this person. So these are all desired end results I know my target market wants to achieve. I know that. So I put that up front. So what happens now, they want to have a conversation with me. They want to say, Marcus, hey, listen, I saw this guy, Sam, triple his income in 10 months. How did you do that? Now I have an opportunity to have a conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a desired end result they want to achieve.
So let's break it down a bit. So let me know if I'm wrong here, but the first step
Yeah.
is to know your target audience. Now, it sounds
Yeah.
easy, but I'm pretty sure it's really, really difficult.
Yes.
Now, how do you people could be working in their businesses for a very long time, but maybe they don't know who exactly their target audience is. So what is the first step? How do you kind of reverse engineer that?
Yeah, great question. So I think it's very simple. So first off, I think it's taking a step back and understanding, okay, what exactly is my offer? And what's the result people get from utilizing this offer? This could be a service or product. That's the first piece. All right, that's the very first piece, because
Mhm.
you may have for some people, they may have multiple audiences, which can make it a little more complex. But this allows them to understand, okay, what's the desired end result? Let's just say, for example, if you're a marketing company that does Facebook ads, for example, if that's the case, okay, cool. You know what? My end result is I can help business owners get more leads so they can grow their business. Okay, cool. So who would be a target market? And because business owners are very general, but you could say business owners, that could be a target market, but maybe they want to specialize in maybe dentists, okay, or chiropractors, okay. So now from there, they can start working backwards a little bit, because now they know the end result. They're working backwards. Okay, who can really benefit from this offer? Dentists, chiropractors, gyms, whatever. Okay, all right, cool. So now they can start crafting a very simple statement. Like, I help X target market achieve whatever with solution. I help business owners get more leads so they can grow their business through managing their Facebook ads. Okay. So now you get more crystal clear as a result of exactly who you serve and what you're going to get for them.
Mm-hmm.
The nuts and bolts of the campaign, the Facebook ad manager, and the pixels and all that stuff is irrelevant. But that's where you start first. You get what's the desired end result, start working backward. And you may find you have many target markets, and that's okay. So maybe another target market could be personal trainers, right? Maybe it's doggy daycares, maybe it's childcare facilities. It could be any number of things, but now you at least know the desired end result and you work backwards. But also what happens is when you can really focus down on a specific niche, you can better speak their language. And depending on how deep the niche is, it can get even more granular. So I'll give you an example. So like I help business to business sales professionals sell and earn more without needing user experience. Now I do B2B sales professionals, so it's already niched down into specifically business to business. So not business to consumer, business to business. So now we know. Now I could go even more granular. Maybe it could be I help, SaaS, software as a service, B2B reps, do the same thing, or I could target industrial or healthcare or whatever. But again, what that means is all my copy now needs to align to that.
Mm-hmm.
So I write my copy now that aligns to more the general business, the business sales professional versus the SaaS one. Because if I was writing copy for a SaaS rep, it might sound simple like, "Hey, are you struggling closing your demos?" Only a software rep, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm struggling with that," right? Because any other up's not going to understand that. They're like, "Oh, I don't. What does it even mean? I sell, coffee mugs. Like, what does that even mean?" So, the more accurate you are, the better the copy, and everything can align to that. But you got to start with understanding what can you deliver. Okay, what's the offer end result, and then work from there to your target market. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what's the next step after that? Is it literally finding what vehicle you can use to, get more leads?
Even simpler. Where do they hang out? Where does that target market hang out? So you really picture the way you make it very simple, right? So where do they like? They're going to be on all platforms, but where on each platform? So, say for example, if it's on, let's call it Facebook, because I'm on Facebook for example. Right? If they're on Facebook, Facebook has, I don't know, millions and millions of users on there. Like you can't just go on your profile, post something, and think leads are going to come in. That's not granular enough. But the beautiful part about Facebook is you have Facebook groups, and Facebook groups are usually a very targeted niche of a target audience. So let's just say, for example, if let's just say if I'm looking for like SaaS reps, software as a service reps, I'll be looking for specific groups that have SaaS reps in there, right? If there's any B2B SaaS rep groups, maybe it's SaaS demo, anything along SaaS, I'm looking to join because it's probably going to be where they're hanging out. So the way you picture it is picture every platform as a giant ocean, but you got to find where they hang out. All right. So I'm looking for that Facebook group where they're all swimming. So I'm going to stick my fishing pole in there and build some value, generate trust in there. Okay. If I'm doing Facebook ads, then the targeting might be focused on, what are things that potentially they're going to be interested in. Now, because they're B2B sales professional, realistically, I'll probably target something. I mean, because if you target like just interested in software, they're probably not going to show they're interested in software as part of the job. But maybe they're interested in something like, it's called Tony Robbins, because maybe they know the job's tough, they need mental toughness, or Brendon Burchard. So maybe the targeting is towards a more general audience like that, but then the copy is written specifically for that rep. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So for example, if you enter those groups, you can't be too salesy in the beginning. I think you mentioned that you had to provide value, and then as you provide a value, you can maybe throw up an offer. You don't want to be too salesy as a salesman.
I wouldn't even I would do no offer in the group. No offers in groups.
No offer?
Yeah, because typically most of those groups have rules where you can't pitch or spam people.
Yeah.
They're really like that. So let's talk about Facebook group strategy. Okay, because it's a little different strategy. Should we go real granular here? Does that work?
No, yeah.
Okay, cool. So first thing you do, optimize your profile, right? So you go into your Facebook profile, you optimize it. You want to think about if they were to look at your profile, are you attractive to them? And I'm not talking about like, do you look good, but like, are you someone of value to them? They're like, oh, you know what? This person is an expert in X. If it's B2B, if it's SaaS B2B sales, cool. That's it. If it's on Facebook ads, that's it. Cool, whatever. So whatever you are offering, they can clearly see very quickly you are awesome. So that means you have a good headshot. So it's not just some giant picture of you and your family. It's just you. You look professional. You have your background banner that's very clear on how you can help them. Like mine says, watch my free webinar. I got some social proof on there, right? So it's very, very simple. So and you can tell very quickly, I'm a legit dude. I'm not a troll. I'm a real person. So now it's optimized, and you should have some sort of call to action to do something on your profile. So then you go into those groups, and in those groups, your number one goal is to not sell, but to serve them. So you start going through like every single day, and you just comment and engage with people's posts in a very helpful way. Leave nothing back. So let's just say, for example, if I found a SaaS group for B2B reps and someone says, man, like I am struggling working with my sales engineer on how to close these deals. What should I do? Go in there and break down, hey, you know, here's three really key things. Write it well, make it articulate, easy to read, super valuable and helpful. Hey, here's three things I think could really help you. You know, boom, 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 boom. Let me know if you have any questions. What do you think happens after you put that comment in there?
He's going to read it. He's going to be interested. And most oftentimes or not, I think that these guys are too busy to do it themselves. So over time, you build rapport with them, and you end up doing business with each other.
Yes,
down the road.
Yeah, so that's exactly what happens, you know. And on top of that, everyone in the group sees it too, who's also your target market. So over time, when you consistently show up like that, people are checking out your profile next. They're DMing you. Hey, listen, like I love your question there. Like, hey, like maybe you can give me a little bit of help here, right? So now you get inbound leads now as a result. Okay. And you can do the same concept for every group, any industry you're in. Go in and provide value. And then periodically put a post up. Put a post up there, you know, provide some value. Hey, I've seen a couple of questions here regarding you know, demos or whatever. Hey, here's 5 things I think could really help you guys. Let me know if you have any questions. Boom, 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 boom. And then suddenly kind of inject some of your results. Not in a bragging way. Like, hey, listen, like I've seen a lot of questions about this, and I've been really fortunate. You know, I've hit 5 President's Club in the last 5 years in SaaS sales. So here's 5 things that I think would really help you. Boom, 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 boom. Now they're like, oh, credibility, result, value add. They're showing consistently. Check out the profile. They're legit. Let me shoot them a DM. So now you're generating more inbound leads.
So is that one of your main strategies of literally going into the trenches of a Facebook group, right? And being of service, not selling anything, but being of service. And if you're in the trenches, you know, it'll be really hard to scale, but you got to put a lot of time and effort for you to establish, you know, an authority and build up a kind of community within that space. And then you can move on to other, like you said, if you think about all the platforms in a vast ocean, you know, that one Facebook group is one, you know, maybe some sector in that ocean. And the more you do it, I guess the more you kind of build up an establishment. But is that really scalable? Are there other ways?
No, you can't scale that. You can't. I mean, unless you hire appointment setters or other people that can do it for you, you cannot scale that. Right.
Okay.
So that's a great strategy just to get rolling, right?
Okay. In the beginning.
That's why paid advertising. That's why you do conjunction.
Okay. So you can't do it all the time. You can't do it all the time. It's not a good thing. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on you. It's like, do you have time or do you have money? Usually you have no money. You usually have a lot of time, right? If you have a lot of money, you usually have no time. So, you know, so you got to choose what you do. You can apply the same concept on LinkedIn. Same concept, right? Same concept, because the ads are too expensive still on LinkedIn. They don't really work very well. But you go in there and you post valuable insights on the right people's posts, so people see it. And that's what I started doing early on LinkedIn to generate a lot of traffic, right? And to get people to pay attention to me, because you have to show up consistently. You can't just show up once. Now, you have to be very strategic, right? So even for Facebook groups, even while I was doing that early on, my call to action was to get people to join my personal group. So I have my own free Facebook group. So now we have, I don't know, 1,400 members in there, right? So I was guiding them so that if they had struggles, they would see my profile, they would just join my group, because my call to action would be, hey, Want to sell more? Join my BB my sales group for free. Boom, and they would join. So now it's like I'm hitting different angles, and I can nurture that group. That's my group to give them value and sell. Because when you own a group, now you own the traffic.
Yeah.
You get to provide value for them every single day. Well, I mean, Facebook still owns them, but you get my point. You have more control, and you are now the authority in there. And then when you're on, on LinkedIn and everywhere else, you can bring people over into that group as well. So there's many. You can kind of mix and match kind of strategies, but the point is still this: you are providing so much value up front that they see you as an expert and authority, etc. So, for example, Clubhouse is really popular now. And the cool thing about Clubhouse is you can start a room, or you can be invited as a moderator or be a speaker on, in whatever. And if you just go and drop some value, people say, wow, that person's really cool. Let me follow them. Let me check them out. Let me find them on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Same concept. It's still the same concept. Instead of typing it out, you're just speaking it out. Same thing. Drop value, serve the audience, and then they're going to be attracted to you if you did a good job, and they're going to want to interact, engage with you. Some are going to directly interact with you. Some are simply going to follow you from afar until over time they see you maybe call it 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 times. And then they say, okay, you know what? Now I'm ready.
Got it. So that analogy that you propose about once you have the Facebook ads and it's off, the faucet is off, you're not going to get any more leads because there's no more ads running, right? What are some other strategies that you use or that you recommend to people that they can use for the long term? So for example, if you have a blog that's going to be on the internet, say if you have a website and you write a blog and you have links there and you provide value, that's going to be there forever, right? Whereas the Facebook ad is there for an extended period of time at most, right?
100%.
YouTube channel, that's always going to be there, so you can get a lot of value. And of course, if you have a specific call to action, then that can be one way to get organic leads. So are there other ways that you kind of think that people, other business professionals or entrepreneurs should really focus on?
Build the email list. Email list. Because at the end of the day, the email list is an asset for you. It's so powerful to constantly be building that, because if Facebook turns off or whatever platform you're getting leads from just stops working the same way, your lead flow shuts off. But here's the thing: you still, if you've been building an email list, you still have an audience. So you can still push emails to them. And some people are doing like community with the texting, etc. It's the same concept, but you want to be able to own an asset. So own that email list, but also nurture the email list. Nurture them. And I'm not saying pitch. You don't want to keep pitching them, but you want to nurture them. So for example, people that join my email list, if they enter one of my funnels, even if they don't end up buying anything, which is totally fine, they will eventually get out to my Monday email list. And every Monday, I send an email out with just some tips, sales tips that are very valuable for them, so they can go execute, get results every single week. So that's really, really key. But I nurture them. And then what happens is over time, eventually, some of them will say, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to take action. I'm ready to work with you. I'm ready to do this. And that happens all the time. I have people that have followed my stuff for a couple of years. They say, Marcus, you're awesome. I've like never heard from them ever. And then suddenly the email, can we jump on a call and discuss how you can help me? Okay. And at that point, there's a high level of trust because I've shown up consistently. When I make mistakes, I tell them, they see it. So they know I'm a legit, real person that truly has their interests at heart.
So out of curiosity here, B2C can be very, very different from B2B because, with B2C, people can buy something, it can be an impulse purchase, right? But if it's a B2B, I think that you really have to nurture the person that you're working with. It might be a long-term thing, right? And they really have to trust you. And that's why you have to provide so much value upfront before they buy your service, because they for a fact that they might need you in the future, or they're going to be talking to you for an extended period of time. It's not going to be an impulse purchase at the end of the day.
Yep, 100%. And it depends too on the price point. Like obviously, like if you're selling a I don't know, a $20,000 car, like I don't know, I'm just making something up. Like people aren't going to use it impulsively, but maybe they will, right? But I think at the end of the day, it's whichever way you are selling, B2C or B2B, just remember it's H to H at the end of the day. It's human to human. You're still selling to human at the end of the day. I think there's lessons that can be learned on either side from B2B to B2C. B2C can be a little more transactional. Kind of, hey, you know what? Here, take my money, I get my goods, see you later. B2B can be more relational, but at the end of the day, it's still a human because because I'm sure you've had a bad experience with as a consumer. It's happened to everyone. It happens to
Mhm.
me. But when something really good happens, it's great. So I'll give you an example. So I just bought we just bought a new kind of a nice bench for our living room from Wayfair, and we bought something before. We got the bench and I put it together, and the legs were kind of welded, kind of didn't fit perfectly, and also the cushion was like leaking the material inside. I'm like, oh, that's not
Hmm.
good. So I took some pictures. I sent them. It was like maybe like a $200 bench, nothing crazy. I sent them a message, say, hey, let's return or exchange policy. I go through, I explain to them, what's going on, and I fill everything out. And at the end of like 5 minutes, I explain everything. They say, okay, cool. Hey, we just refunded your card and just keep the bench.
Really? Huh.
I'm like, wow. Like, okay. Like you can dispose of it or just keep it. It's entirely up to you. And I'm like, hmm. And to me, that was such a great move. That was because to me as a consumer, I'm thinking to myself, oh man, this sucks. This bench is not working. I'm gonna have to take it back apart, package it all back up, have to like tape it all up, take it down to UPS. Oh, it's gonna be it's gonna be a whole thing. I don't know, God, even just returning it, right? But they made it so easy. But because that focus on the H to H, philosophy, I'm like, wow, they really understood how much of a pain and hassle it is to
Hmm.
package something up and take it apart again. So that
Yeah.
was really cool. And that was a great example of being able to still take, that type of approach. And you see with Amazon too, Amazon does very similar things too. Like they'll say, listen, just keep it. Not everything, but some stuff they'll say, just keep it,
Yeah.
and they just refund you.
I feel a lot of companies are afraid to do that because people will abuse that. But I think there's a stat where I forgot where I read it from, but even if people are afraid to really go to that route,
Yep.
not many people are going to abuse it as you seem that they might.
Oh yeah. I mean,
So,
it's kind of like the unlimited vacation policy some companies
eh,
have.
oh yeah.
People actually take like less vacations usually because they're
Hmm.
like, oh, like afraid of the perception, right? So it's kind of funny.
Hmm. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see, other B2B professionals or entrepreneurs make in their sales process? Either it's not the call to action is not there, their message isn't clear. What is it exactly that you kind of see through your experience?
Yeah, they spend too much time pitching. That's first thing. So in a sales process, they would maybe ask a couple questions and spend the entire time just pitching,
Hmm.
and that's not good. You really want to spend majority of your sales process, like 80, 90%. I would really say 90% of your sales process, just asking questions, really uncovering the needs of their prospect. That's really important. That's one really common mistake. The second mistake I see is not meeting qualified prospects. So they're meeting with a prospect that's not really a good fit, and they spend this whole time just trying to convince that person to buy when they really should just disqualify them. It's funny because I'll jump on a sales call for someone who wants to join my programs, and after I uncover all their needs, I will disqualify them. I had this guy, he's worked for a big company, and he's like, and we go through it for 20 minutes. I just say, hey, Sean, can I be really direct with you? He's like, what's up? I'm like, I don't think we're a good fit to work together. He's like shocked. He's like, what? But I really want to work with you. I'm like, yeah, I understand that. But what you are looking for is you're looking for more of a business coach. I can help you with that, but it's not my specialty. So I don't feel comfortable, charging you money because it's not my specialty. If you want to work on your sales team, I can help with that. But what you're looking for is a different issue. With that being said, I could recommend somebody else, which I think would be a better fit for you. Would you be cool with that? And he's like blown away. And he says to me, he's like, Marcus, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I think I owe you something now. I'm like, that wasn't my goal. My goal is to be 100% transparent with you, And he was just so thankful as a result because I didn't try to pull fast when I wasn't being sleazy. I didn't have what I call commission breath, trying to force something that they didn't want. I understood his needs and I made
Hmm.
sure to disqualify. Now, many sales professionals and entrepreneurs who don't understand that would probably try to find a way to make it work, even if it's outside the wheelhouse. The thing is, if you know what you can deliver and you do really, really well, if you deviate too much, it can mess you up and lead to
Hmm.
bad results. You don't want that. So be really crystal clear and disqualify them if they're not going to be a good fit. So it's
Hmm.
important to qualify is just as important to disqualify. The third big mistake I see a lot of times, many people make in the sales process or across the board is they don't generate enough top of the funnel work. They don't have enough inbound leads. They don't have enough meetings. They don't have enough prospect work, and that's really that really impacts the back end flow. Because an entrepreneur, if you're a solopreneur or a small business, you need every single sale, but you don't get those sales if you don't have the top of the funnel work.
Hmm.
That's why me personally, I have so many sources of traffic, from paid traffic, organic traffic, borrowed traffic, because I know by doing that, it puts me in position to win. You know, and when people ask me, like Marcus, like, man, like, you're really fortunate. How did you have such a great first year? Like you make it look so easy. I'm like, it wasn't easy. It was super hard. I put a lot of work in, but I was putting systems in place, things in place from those three methods that's going to lead to great results down the road. And a lot of times I see, especially maybe a new business owner, they focus all their time on just the product. They have a great product now, but they don't have buyers. And it takes time to get people into that buying part of the process. It's not like tomorrow, okay, cool, I got this product. All right, who wants to buy it? Anyone? Anybody? It's like right now, everyone builds an online course now, and I see it all the time. They're like, oh, I'm going to build an online course about X, and they build it, but they have zero traffic to drive it to. So they kind of put it out there. Maybe on the launch day, they make a few $1,000s, maybe 10,000 if they're lucky, and then suddenly that's it. There's nothing else. And
Hmm.
now they're like, okay, now they spend all this time, hours of time, 30, 40, 50 hours plus building this program. And they only generated, what equates to maybe like $10 an hour work. So
Hmm.
that traffic is a big piece as well.
So when you were working in corporate America for 14 years and you did your own thing. Now, I don't know if you had a huge personal brand during the time when you were working at corporate America, and I can only assume that your personal brand is another source of traffic to get more business and to network and whatnot. Um, what did you do to really build up your personal brand, and is it really important to really have that source or kind of establish a personal brand so you can network, and that'd just be another way of getting more leads, right?
100%. Yeah, absolutely right. So, when I was in corporate America, I worked for a company which they're a little bit resistant to a personal brand.
Hmm.
They've been around for a long time. They started during the Great Depression in the 1930s. They're based in the Midwest, so they were more resistant to a personal brand concept. Now, I've always gone a little bit against the grain, but like for me, like even on Instagram, I have my own separate profile that I would kind of generate traffic from, early on, building a little bit of a brand there. On LinkedIn, same thing. I was doing that as well, but I would only post like maybe once every couple of weeks on LinkedIn, and it was really more focused on like building up the brand of the company and me. Basically, like, hey, look how awesome my team is doing, and come work for me, because I was recruiting people. So
Hmm.
that's what I did. Now, because I'd had years of, now at this point, about 5 years of testing online marketing, internet marketing, and building a brand, how do you like these organic strategies? I knew exactly what to do the day after I quit. Okay. Like, so, because I had a brand on LinkedIn, and I had maybe like, I mean, not that follower counts matter. I had like maybe 3,000 people that kind of followed me, and most of them were people like, that I'd worked with, right? So at
Hmm.
the company, and maybe some external. So once I quit my job, immediately I optimized my profile to be exactly what I wanted, which was the same stuff we talked about. It's like being able to show, hey, I know what I'm talking about as a call to action. I'm of value to my target market. And I made sure I rewrote everything on my profile that would be able to connect with somebody on the outside looking in. They connect to the story behind it, the results. And also I include plenty of proof. At that point, I had been slowly kind of building up like LinkedIn recommendations. So
Hmm.
at that point, I probably had like, I don't know, 50 or so recommendations already. So anyone that looked at my profile was like, I'm not sure if this guy's legit or not. They could look at recommendations like, oh crap, this guy's actually legit. So that's what I first started doing. Now it's not like I did that, and then overnight suddenly people started following me. No, it wasn't. So then from there, every single day for probably, especially for the first like 3 months, which is very important. Every single day, I posted because I also was observing the whole time. What was my competition posting? I went and followed all my competition, right? People in the similar space, or people that are in the sales space that are macro, micro influence. I followed all of them immediately so I could see their content. I took a look at what they were posting and thought about what could I post instead that was better. And I uncovered very quickly most of them posted fluff. Like most of them had never actually carried the bag, done the job. Most of them had never had real success. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna drop real value, real knowledge, real tactical things, and I'll share real stories of struggle, etc., to really connect with the audience. So I started doing opposite what people were doing, and that I knew connected with the audience. Every day, I'll spend 5-6 hours a day. I put my post up, written a specific way in terms of a story framework. It'd be hook, value, or story, call to action. And it's all written, written basically, you want to write in about like third grade language, because the simpler it is to read, the easier it is to understand. The faster they understand the message, the more likely they are to convert to a lead. So I wrote a very specific way and started converting leads. And on top of that, every single day, I would go and engage for 5-6 hours. I would go and engage on my competitors' posts, drop bombs in the post, value, interacting with people's questions. I went to targeted hashtags that I knew, same thing. Like I would just drop value. And of course, they see my connection or they see my post. My target market sees it. They would check me out, add me as a connection request. I would accept it. Boom, immediately drop them a video message. Say what's up. So I started nurturing and building relationships manually to get the engine rolling. The first 3 months were the hardest. The most amount of work. It's kind of like you're pushing a car from a dead start, and it takes a lot of energy, momentum, and that's how it felt. So from like really September, October, November, December, like those months, I didn't really see much traction, right? I mean, I was generating sales and stuff, and making money, but it wasn't really anything to brag home about. Then January hit and it really started taking off. At this point, I had showed up so consistently. So now people start to know me. I was getting booked on podcasts nonstop, and that's how I did so many podcasts. People were, asking me to do speaking, like online speaking engagement and all these things. So I was using borrowed traffic. So that's when I started really building over time. I just kept showing up. And the thing is the mistakes some people make with the personal brands, once they started getting a little bit of traction, they stopped like, okay, cool. I kept going. Now I didn't have to spend 6 hours a day. Now I'll spend a couple hours a day, same thing, respond and engage every single day and engage. And I still do it to this day. And from there, I continued to grow. And I started, getting more and more business, and my business continued to grow. I started getting recognition. I started getting, whether it's Forbes or Yahoo Finance and Mark, I started getting like articles produced. I started getting recognized. And I started getting some decent sized podcasts. I started just getting my name out there. And it wasn't easy. It took me showing up every single day. Like for example, one of the like LinkedIn recognized me in November, maybe it's November or December. They recognized me as a top voice on LinkedIn, which is for sales, which is like they only choose 10 people out of all of LinkedIn. This is like over 300 million active users. They chose the number 5 out of 10. And it's funny because people are like, holy crap, how did you do that? Because some of them saw my journey. And I'm like, yeah, it was really easy. All it took was writing, over a little bit over 300,000 words of content over the last year, show up every single day, engaging for hours a day with people's content. All it took. And they're like, oh.
That's all it took.
That's all it took. I'm like, and they're like, they had no idea, right? Because and it wasn't like, oh, it took hard work because I wasn't being paid traffic there. So building a personal brand, but here's the thing. It hits a point where as long as you maintain it, it's kind of like getting a 6-pack. Like it's hard to get a 6-pack. But once you get it, as long as you eat pretty clean, you can maintain it look pretty decent. It's the same with a personal brand. Once you get to that point, you just kind of build, you just still show up every day. You'll continue to build every single day. And then you'll do some, maybe you'll do a webinar or someone, maybe do some speaking engagement. You do something like this, this podcast interview, and then people will add you, connect with you from there. So it's an ongoing thing. It's very organic, but just like anything else, you have to maintain it. Like if tomorrow, like if LinkedIn stopped, my brand on there is gone. But fortunately, I've carried that brand onto Facebook and Instagram, my email list, etc. Now Clubhouse, I'm starting to do that as well. So now it's building it constantly and being aware it's an organic thing. It's not a one-time event. It's a journey of constantly building that brand up. It's just like anything else. It's kind of like Gary Vaynerchuk. Yes, in the last 3-5 years, everyone knows him, but 2010, no one really knew him. No one really knew
Hmm.
him, right? He was doing his wine TV, whatever, right? But he's been shown for years before that,
Yeah.
for years before, to the point now. Obviously, he's a household brand, but he talks about the dude hustles. The guy puts in like 18, 19-hour days every day still. He's still on Twitter, smashing it up, right? Like the guy's a beast.
So even though you were like in top of the world in corporate world, you had to restart again from zero with the personal branding with LinkedIn and really build up
Yes.
that audience, work in the trenches, like the example you put forth for LinkedIn and on Facebook. But once you get the ball rolling, I think it would be easier to build up on other platforms, right? So of course you have these
Yes.
assets, the email list, the followers, and all that. And then of course with Clubhouse, you can kind of traffic your audience to that because it's another way of communicating with them effectively.
100%. And and the thing is, this is when you jump to another platform, this is why the email list is so important because like I see some of these people that have a big name on, like, call it LinkedIn, but on other platforms they don't have a very big name. And some of them, I don't want to say they're a fake, maybe they bought followers or whatever. But when I hear some of them on, say, Clubhouse, I can tell pretty quickly they're full of crap. Like I'll listen to them talk, I'm like, no, that's terrible advice. Like and you can tell very quickly in how they speak, how they carry themselves. I'm like, this makes sense of why you only do a text only post and never video, never audio. You don't do any podcast because clearly you're a charlatan. Like that's what it clearly is. So this is why it's like real recognizes real. Like when you talk with people that are legit real, you can tell, you feel like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
they know what they're talking about. They're legit. Like they actually know. They're not just making something up. They actually know what they're talking about.
Mhm.
That's the key. If you want to build a good personal brand, you have to be real and authentic, regardless of the platform. Be real and authentic because
Yeah.
that's how you are able to move from platform to platform and go from there. But if you're not, then obviously eventually it will catch up to you.
Yeah, it's not sustainable,
Yep.
in that fashion, just faking it till you make it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, people would recognize that like you did.
Mm-hmm.
So, Marcus, I don't
Right.
want to take too much of your time here. I think we learned so much. And I think one of my favorite things is really going into the trenches. And that's one of the hardest things is going into the Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, putting those hours that you might not see anything in the first 90 days. But I
Mm-hmm.
think over time, you build up that audience, that awareness, and it'll just snowball from there. So if people want to learn more about you, learn more about B2B sales, where can they hit you up and learn?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on any of the major platforms, right? If it's on LinkedIn, just look up Marcus Chan. I'm the only guy that has Speedos in the tagline. I'm on Instagram as well, and Facebook too. But a great simple place to find all that, head to marcuschan.io/resources. That's marcuschan.io/resources. Inside, I've got free training links to all my social platforms as well.
Dope. So I'll put that in the show notes. Anyone can click on that. And just one more question. What's one book that you recommend anyone to learn about sales, like the ultimate golden book, if there is one?
Mm. Yeah. So I mean, for sales, how about for life? How about
Okay,
one for
fine.
life?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because this will apply to, if it's one book, I would read High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard. High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard, because at the end of the day, if you want to be a top performer in sales, in life, a business owner, a mother, a father, a dentist, whatever, you need to have specific habits that lead to high performance. And that book talks about the 5 key habits, and some of my favorite books. At the end of the day, and at the end of the day, if you want to be the best version of you for sales, you have to be great at being you.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll include that in the show notes. And that's so true. Like, just because you can use sales in almost anything, you don't have to sell a product or service. You have to tell yourself, you got to convince something of something. And I think, yeah, reading that book can really help you apply those principles. So,
Awesome.
Marcus, it was definitely a pleasure, man. I really do appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.